Let's go another YouTube. So video for what's today? Wednesday. I decided to take a little jab at it and try to get MGTOWs and Feminists, so to speak, to kind of meet in the middle, I guess. So, if you don't know what a MGTOW stands for, men going their own way, MGTOW, and we're all aware of what feminism is. But at the end of the day, it's basically identity politics again. You know, MGTOWs are like usually men that get jilted in a relationship, and then they take themselves entirely out of the dating scene. And women that are feminists tend to be a little bit, not all, but most, the majority of the ones that I've seen tend to be essentially man-hating women. So, but the reality of the situation is these two opposite extremes are very much so this two sides of the same coin, and this kind of thought process never really gets anywhere, and the dialogue doesn't change if you immediately assume that a person is male, therefore they are evil, or a person is woman, and therefore they are evil. In the sense that conversation never changes, nobody's opinions ever get changed, and in fact, in some cases, it actually reinforces some of the more extreme ideals. Now, I've been dumped multiple times, and I've dragged my dick through the gutter of bar women that I really don't care to admit, but never once in my life have I decided that just because I got jilted that I'm never going to date a woman again in my life. In the same regard, I know women that have been dumped and treated badly by men that don't think that all men are scum and toxic. So, just because one of these things happen doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take it to such an extreme. The genders warring between each other. I say warring, I use that obviously as a metaphor, not literally warring, but the genders warring between each other is kind of it's kind of ridiculous, considering we're warring over each other over the select few, and that's in our crowd. Now, to be fair, you're more likely to run into a feminist in your life than you are to run into a MGTOW. Me personally, I never met one in person, but I know that I'm well aware of the fact that they exist. But the whole concept from feminism that everything is sexist is ridiculous. Everything affects genders differently. We're aware of this. Most humans, most average citizens of the United States and the Western world in general are well aware of the fact that everybody has their fucking problems. MGTOW, on the other hand, just because you get jilted once doesn't mean you have to walk away from women entirely. I'm not saying that you can't. I mean, go right on ahead and do whatever you want, but sitting in your gilded cage that is MGTOW and pointing at women that fuck up and saying, see, I told you so, isn't helping either. I'm not saying that you can't be MGTOW. I'm not saying you can't be a feminist. Quite frankly, you can do whatever the fuck you want with your life. I don't care. But people are going to call you out on it, and it is something that you're going to have to be aware of, and you can either deal with the conversation and learn from the conversation, or you can stop talking to everybody outside of your own bubble. But we all know, the rest of us with, our head on our shoulders and common sense are well aware of the fact that most people can talk and have discussions and not further reinforce some of the ideals that they had that might have become a little bit extreme. But I digress. And in this regard, you also need to understand that there are assholes in both genders. There are men that are terrible, and then there are women that are terrible. It's a human condition. Nobody is perfect. I know. Newsflash, right? Oh, but MRAs, for lack of a better word, trying to get my brain to go in a particular direction here is not working so well for me today, but MRAs are not misogynists. They're not racists. They're not women-hating. I'm sure there are some that are. Like, I'm not saying that, MRAs are completely devoid of sin. Look at much like the skeptic community as it is not devoid of its sins either, what with the alt-right and white nationalists and whatnot. But that goes without saying, and it happens to every section of either political or social environments that you deal with on a regular basis, and you and I and everybody else tend to run into. a few crazies in our lifetime. So, in closing, my response to both feminists and MGTOW is calm down, look around you, and use a little self-awareness too, because when you look in that mirror, that person that you see isn't devoid and completely free of sin either. We're all human. We all know full well that none of us are perfect. And for MGTOWs, take a break from women. Do whatever the hell you need to do to get your life right. But understand that just because you got jilted by one woman or multiple women does not mean that those women are perfect examples of every woman. Anyway, I'm closing this off. I got something planned for Friday already. Let's see here now. Friday's so Sunday. I need a topic to talk about. So feel free to clue me in the comments or find me on Twitter just look up Agnosis Paradigm and I'm sure you'll find me. Anyway, have a good morning, afternoon, evening, and or night, and I will see you Friday.